All right, this is my sort of commentary slash review of the latest Spider-Man movie from Sony and Marvel and Disney, Spider-Man Homecoming, the second reboot, I believe, of the Spider-Man franchise after Tobey Maguire and the Tobey Maguire films and the Andrew Garfield films, and now the Tom Holland films. All right, let's get right to it. My first impressions: I had great expectations for this movie, which I think was a little bit too much. I expected a lot from this movie because Marvel and Disney were coming in, and Sony was willing to reboot and listen to Marvel and share Spider-Man and all that. And, well, I hate to say it, but I found the movie a little bit boring. I know it's gotten a lot of high ratings. A lot of critics are praising it, and it deserves all the praises. It's definitely not a terrible movie. It is a movie that fits nicely with the Avengers, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Definitely one. It's a very good Spider-Man film. It's not the worst Spider-Man film, but it's definitely not the best one in my opinion. And if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to watch this commentary after you've seen the movie, because I will be saying some spoilers, details that will spoil the movie for you. So that's fair warning, okay? So, but if you still want to be spoiled, by all means, watch on. Movies typically, it's not an origin story. The origin of Spider-Man is sort of just casually laid out there, that when his friend finds out that he's Spider-Man, and Ned, his friend, his best friend, finds out, and he casually tells him about how he got his powers, like he was bitten by a spider and whatever, and he can shoot whatever, he's developed his suit, whatever, he's met the Avengers, he's interning for Tony Stark. Okay, but it was casually laid out. This movie takes place after the events of the Avengers 1 and 2, obviously, and Captain America Civil War. So with that, in my opinion, the overall look of the film, or the overall story of the film, is basically Spider-Man finding out who he is, albeit it wasn't clearly explicitly stated there. But the movie, I thought, was a journey of self-discovery. Who does he want to be? He's already he is Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's already got a taste of what it is to be an Avenger. And the movie sets out, well, he starts the movie just wanting to go back to missions with the Avengers, just wanting to be an Avenger again, and he feels that that's what motivates him, that's what's giving him the energy to go about every day, with the thought that he might one day be called on a mission to join the Avengers. He's been wanting that all throughout the movie, and through that journey he has a lot of trouble to deal with. He has to deal with this guy. He discovers that he's the bad guy in New York, just silently operating in New York, getting tech from destroyed parts and technology from the Avengers battles, like the Chitauri technology, Ultron technology, and he's turning them into these weapons, like these wings and other guns that he's selling on the black market, or he's selling privately to criminals, low-life criminals, petty criminals, and I guess to a certain extent some gangs, whatever. But that's his business, and he discovers that, and he tries to stop him. That's one of his problems. The other problem he has is dealing with school, because in this movie, I love it that Sony and Marvel and Disney decided to go back to Spider-Man's roots, that he's a kid again. He's a teenager just struggling in high school with grades. Well, not exactly with grades, just dealing with school stuff that he has to miss because he has duties with Spider-Man. So balancing being Spider-Man and being a student. That's two. And then third, his love interest. Just to make matters more complicated, he's struggling on how to deal with his hormones, how to talk to women, how to talk to his crush, and then and with that he has to deal with an academic competition, because he's part of this academic group, this nerd group that competes with us. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of real life teenage problems, and at the same time he's dealing with superhero problems, and again, interspersed with that, he is trying to discover who he is. And at the end of the movie, obviously, he defeats the bad guy. He makes a lot of mistakes. Tony Stark is there to cover up for him. But in the final battle with the bad guy, he doesn't get any help. He does it on its own. He discovers, he pushes his limit, and he discovers who he is. He discovers that he can stand on his own, and then he gets an offer from Tony Stark. He gets respect from Tony Stark and from Happy, and he's always wanted in the Avengers officially, and now Tony Stark wants to make it official that he's going to be part of the Avengers, and he turns it down gracefully. And to me, that was the turning point of the movie. That this movie was a great movie, was going to be a great movie, or this franchise was going to be a great franchise, because he discovers himself that he is a great hero, that he is a hero, not because he's an Avenger, not because he's got this high-tech suit, but because he is Peter Parker, the Spider-Man. And that whole movie was that journey, and it was amazing. Okay. His love interest is Liz. And he's just crazy about this girl. He's a sophomore, Liz is a senior. She's the captain of that academic team, that nerdy team that he's on. And just talk about the resolution, because we talked about the resolution of the villain. We've talked about the resolution of how he wanted to be an Avenger and decides to turn it down because he just wants to be in friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and because he found out who he is. And then the love interest, it didn't work out because Liz had to move, because as it turns out, the love interest, Liz, actually is the daughter of the Vulture, Adrian Toomes. And what's interesting is I love that they've carried that theme from the Spider-Man films, that he can't have a happily ever after life because he's Spider-Man. Just like what Captain Stacy told the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, that, you know, you'll always have enemies. You can't drag your loved ones in this Spider-Man business. And that's what sort of, I feel, what's going to happen here, that he can't find love. And we also find out that's how it gets resolved. He can't, because he puts the father in jail. But Liz never finds out it was Peter who did that. But anyway, he's got a bunch of friends that are all nerds, and that's sort of somehow they keep putting it. It's not like when you have a gang that's got your back, only Ned has his back. The character of Zendaya, Michelle, who in the end of the movie says, "Oh, my friends call me MJ," so she's gonna be the new MJ, Michelle Jane or whatever. We found out she has a secret crush on him, but she's like being very cool, and you know, she's being very nonchalant about it. It doesn't care. She just puts up a wall that she doesn't care about anything, and she's like the smartest person in the room. And she's the new and when Liz leaves, she's the new captain of the academic team. And then we find out she has a secret crush on Peter, and I'm guessing she's going to be the next love interest in the next movie. But all his friends are nerds. Even Flash is a nerd, but he's a jackass nerd who keeps putting him down. And I'm going to say this now because I might forget it throughout this commentary. One of the things I didn't like about the film is his friends. I mean, Ned was okay. It was like, I think Ned is like Miles Morales' best friend. I forgot his name, man. I'm stupid. I read the comic book and I forget the guy's Ganke. It's like Ned is like the Ganke of Miles Morales, and he's great. He's funny. The lines, he delivers it very well. My only problem with him is he lacks that facial expression to express the emotion. You hear the emotion in his voice and all that, but you cannot see the emotion from it. But it's a nitpick. It was okay. And everybody else just hates him. Peter, Flash is just such a jackass. I mean, he didn't have to be there in the movie. I personally think he's just there to put him. He's just a foil, but he's on the same team with this guy. I can imagine if Flash was like a football captain of the football team or whatever, and he hates nerds and he hates Peter. But Flash is also a nerd. he's supposed to be one of the smart on the academic team, and he's like trying the only competition he has with this guy is with Spider-Man is that he wants to be like on the first 5 of the academic team, and but they're on the same team. Why do you fight each other? And then there's the character of Zendaya, Michelle, and she's just like, she just doesn't care. A lot of obnoxious characters, which I felt were unnecessary, and it kind of reminded me of how Josh Trank did the Fantastic Four, that he completely changed the mix of the characters of the Fantastic Four, and that's what happened here with Spider-Man's friends. And some parts worked, some parts didn't, and there was a point that the character of Michelle, Zendaya's character, I was like, God, why is she even still in the movie? She was cute the first few times. She has those quick quips to Ned and Peter, and then after a while she just got boring, and I thought, oh my goodness. Okay, I'll talk more about what I did not like about the film, but let's just finish what I did like about the film. I thought that whole theme of self-discovery was great, and that we get this movie to become really part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's so anchored in that because we get the Chitauri technology, we got Ultron technology, we got the Avengers Tower being cleaned up and moving to the new facility, we get the view of the new facility, we got Tony Stark, we got Happy. So yes, very clearly this new reboot of Spider-Man is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm so glad we get to see him in Avengers 3, hopefully with a very good, interesting role, and that is great. Okay, now let's go to the part where I did not like, where I said why I thought it was boring. First half of the film, oh my goodness. I watched the film just now with my daughter, my other daughter, Chloe. I'll watch it again with Alex and Danny in a couple days. But when we saw it, my daughter was just like, she said she literally fell asleep in the first part of the movie. And that's exactly what it is. The first part of the movie was boring. Absolutely boring. If you're not a big fan of Spider-Man, you'll think, what the hell is going on? And I'm a Marvel guy. I've been with Marvel for a long time. I've seen the many faces of Spider-Man and how they've rebooted him, that now he's like Tony Stark and with Parker Industries, and they have another comic with him, whatever. And I wanted to give it a chance. That's what kept me awake in the first half of the movie, and I was trying to give it a chance, and the story was so excruciatingly slow paced that, oh my goodness, where is this thing going? We get the first 2 minutes, we get introduced to the Vulture. That the first part, he's just a guy, salvager. He's a salvager, and then the department of the government creates a new department, Tony Stark, to collect all these alien artifacts and whatever, and they get out of business. So he decides to steal these tech and make weapons and sell them. And then he's been doing it for 8 years. So we get to see him as a scavenger, and then after 8 years, he's now full-fledged Vulture, and he's now has his business, this underground black market business of the weapons, and he discovers it. So we get introduced to the Vulture very, very quickly, and I thought this was going to be a fast-paced film. And then we get introduced to this guy, to Peter Parker, just after his mission in Civil War, Captain America. He's bored to death. He wants Avengers missions, and I was like, man, this is nothing happening. And they showed him trying to be the friendly bird Spider-Man, and he sucks at it. And I absolutely hated the fact that he was super clumsy and super awkward about it, because you know what, I get it, he's fine, he's starting out. What do you expect, right? He's starting out, he's trying to learn the ropes, he's trying to be Spider-Man, he's got to be clumsy, right? Yeah, but I figured that was the phase, the clumsy phase was over. Like, that happened before Civil War and after Civil War, because when you saw him in Civil War, he moved like a pro. He's been doing it for a long time. And so with that in mind, when you see this movie, which takes place after Civil War, after Age of Ultron, and whatever, and you expect him to be a little bit more professional now, because he's fought the Winter Soldier, he's with such finesse, the Falcon and all that, and you'd expect him to be less clumsy, more precise with this. And yeah, sure, he was learning the suit. He hacked the suit together with Neg. He disabled all the protocols, and he's like on advanced mode and whatever. He's not prepared for it, and he's being awkward. But I would expect some finesse. It is a superhero movie, and even if you gave him some finesse, the suspension of disbelief would still be there, and I'd still buy it. And I hated the fact that he was just so damn clumsy. I mean, a little bit too clumsy. It's okay if he was making some mistakes here and there, but he was making mistakes all the time. And one of the bad guys, Shocker, was there. Shocker was supposedly his right-hand man. So when the first Shocker, the guy who tried to be the Shocker, tried to put on that weapon, he got pissed off, he killed him. The next guy in line became the Shocker, and that guy told him, you suck at this, you gotta be good at this. And he was right, he sucked at it. But in Civil War he was amazing. So there was a little bit of a disconnect for me, and I thought, what the hell? So I would have appreciated him to be a little bit more clumsy, to be a little clumsy, but not too clumsy like I see in the movie. But then, okay, fine. He was setting up for his self-discovery, and he was becoming Spider-Man, and he discovered he could be Spider-Man without the suit. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. The other thing I didn't like about the movie was throughout that whole clumsy phase, he was being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it was funny at some point, and then it got boring. I wish they would have given him a lot of scenes of being great at the neighborhood Spider-Man thing, that he was saving people, he was stopping robbers, petty thefts, whatever, small crimes. He was not exactly Daredevil, but he was doing his job as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and it was great. People love him. I would have wanted that, instead of him just doing these petty jobs or superhero duties or superhero good deeds or something like that. I wished they would have given him a lot more scenes of really helping out people, and then the story would go something like this, like he would save people, he would stop bank robbers, he would stop a heist, he would, like, small heists, like a car theft or whatever, a real car theft, not made a mistake, the guy wasn't really robbing his car, but and then he would take it for granted, and he would still focus on, I want to be an Avenger, I want to be happy, I want to be an Avenger, and that would have still fit in the continuity of the film. And because he was really struggling with who he was, and he wanted to be an Avenger, and he felt that was the only thing that gave meaning to his life, that he was an Avenger. And then he would find out later on that he doesn't need to be an Avenger, that he could be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I wished that they had put that element, that he was good, a little bit good at what he did as a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and that he was taking it for granted, and he realizes that being an Avenger is not everything. It's great that he knows Tony Stark and the Avengers, that he could be called upon, but who he really is a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that would have probably made me less annoyed of his clumsiness or something like that. But yeah, more of good stuff. The best scenes for me is when he was fighting the Vulture. And in fact, if you ask me, what really I liked about the film is all the scenes with the Vulture. Michael Keaton was amazing as a Vulture, and I'm glad he ditched the DC Universe to become Adrian Toomes, and it was amazing. Every single scene he had, I loved him. I loved Michael Keaton. I loved him when he was Batman, now as a Vulture. Oh my goodness. I think he was one of those that saved this movie from being like a complete snooze fest. Each line he delivered was amazing. He was very sinister. And when he found out that he was the dad of Liz, when she was gonna pick up Liz for the dance, and he opens the door, and I was like, oh my god, that just took the movie to the next level. And I was like, this is gonna be good. And every single time they fought, it was amazing. And eventually, in the end, he gets respect from Toomes. He saves Liz from a falling elevator in one scene, when the Genki had a bit of Chitauri check and explodes, and they were in the Washington Monument, and he saves Liz. So he's grateful for that. And in the end, he saves him from burning, because his suit was exploded, and in the final battle, he saves him. And he gets respect for that. And that I thought was amazing. That's Spider-Man. He saves people. He does the right thing. And then after the final battle was a little bit anticlimactic for me. I thought the Vulture was gonna die, but he didn't, and I'm glad he didn't, because Michael Keaton was just amazing. I'd love to see more of him in the next Spider-Man films. But I thought it was a little bit anticlimactic, and I was expecting more bang, more of a big finale, but that was okay. I'm not complaining too much. Don't get me wrong. I'm not whining about it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't perfect. Wasn't the best final battle, but it was okay. It was actually nice, and it was gearing up to be very nice, and then it just ended like that, and it was like, okay. And so, yeah, that was great. Talk about Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and again, another disconnect here. I love Marissa Tomei, and after seeing the film, I loved her as Aunt May. I'm sorry, she was amazing. And a little bit of a disconnect is the character was supposed to be this elderly, this very motherly character, and she did not dress the part. She always dressed up in these tight spaghetti strap tops and really some tight jeans and all that, and she was like, what's going on? It's like the character did not match the aesthetics of the character, and I was like, a little bit on, but I loved Marissa Tomei. I didn't care. And she was like the hottest Aunt May we've ever seen for Spider-Man, and there was a little bit of disconnect. I thought it was kind of weird that it did not match the kind of the character and how she looked, but I didn't care. I loved Marissa Tomei, and I want to see more of her. And let's go to the final scenes before I forget. The final scene in the movie, it ends. He beats this guy on his own, because Happy doesn't care about what his adventures is. Nobody listens to him because he's a kid. So he defeats this guy on his own. And Happy, and the plane full of Stark tech crashes, and then he secures it, ties this guy up, and says, sorry about the plane. And Happy is just very grateful to him, and all's forgiven. Stark returns his suit and all that. Okay, and the end, and as Stark returns the suit, after he turns down the Avengers, Stark shows him this amazing 2.0 version of the Spidey suit, and he turns it. It was amazing. It was like a blue, red, and gold version of the new Miguel O'Hara Spidey suit, and he turns it down because he wants to be friendly with his son. That's great and all. He comes back home on his bed. Tony Stark returns his suit, and I know if you've seen the trailer, Tony Stark takes back the suit because he botches that thing with the boat. Anyway, so he puts on the suit. And then Aunt May takes off the mask while he's checking himself out in the mirror. And Aunt May comes to his room and says, "What the fuck?" And then the movie ends. And I thought that was funny. And I'm like, oh my God. So early on in the franchise, Aunt May finds out that he's Spider-Man. And you know what? I do hope they don't make up some excuse that Parker does. They write up a thing that Peter makes an excuse to Aunt May and says, "Oh, I'm not really Spider-Man. This is just for a Halloween costume." Oh, that's gonna suck. I wish in the next film he'd explain, he'd tell Aunt May everything, because it'd be great if Aunt May knows that he's Spider-Man, and that's going to be the struggle, because in the comics of Miles Morales, the Miles Morales Spider-Man, the dad knows that he's Spider-Man, and recently they told the mom, and the mom's always worried, but still respects his decision to be Spider-Man and just supports his kid. And I thought that could make a good sequel, that Aunt May wants what's best for Peter. He doesn't want him to be Spider-Man, but she feels that he has to be Spider-Man, and so he supports him, but gets really, really worried every time he goes on a mission. And it happens every single day with everyday people. Like, if somebody's loved one is a soldier, you don't want them to be a soldier, but you feel they have to be a soldier, and they have to serve the country, they have to go fight a war or whatever, and you worry about that person you love, but again, you feel that they're doing a good deed, they're doing something great. And I hope that could be in the next Spider-Man film, and that would be great for me. Okay, end credit scene time. The first end credit scene is the first one after the first credits, major credits, and we get to see Toomes in prison, and then he's walking. Then we see this guy that, for the life of me, I can't remember. He's a convict that he has his arm, like, there's some metal pieces when you break an arm, you get inserted these pieces, and then he's got scars, and he says, "Well, look at here." He says, "I know somebody from the outside who's recruiting," and people say, "You know who he is?" And he says, "Nope, I don't know who Spider-Man is. If I knew who he was, he'd already be dead." So he doesn't rat him out. He gives him respect, and I love that. I love that. I love the character of Toomes, and I'm glad he's not such a big he's not such a bad guy. And before I forget also, just to digress, this new version of Vulture was amazing. And the wings were like an extension of his body, and it was so much better than the comic book Vulture. And I was like, I had no respect for that Vulture comic book back in the day, and it was corny, and I thought if they put that in the movie it was gonna suck. But I'm glad they made it like sort of a Whiplash or an Iron Man Vulture, whatever. It was nice. So okay, so he doesn't rat him out, and that ends it. And I was like, what the hell was that scene? So is that a precursor to the Sinister Six? Is Toombs going to be recruited in prison to become part of the Sinister Six? I don't know. But that would be great if we get to see Doc Ock again. And I know Sony does not recycle villains. They don't want to recycle villains. But then again, they're going to do a Venom movie. And I do hope we get to see a genuine Sinister Six with Doc Ock, with Mysterio, with Craven, with Electro, a really decent Electro and all that. Instead of just, oh, okay, we can't recycle villains, we'll just pluck out 5 other villains to go with Vulture, like, oh, Mysterio, we haven't seen Mysterio, we'll probably get Blizzard, or, I don't know, but Black Cat, maybe, or something like that. I'm sure it will still be okay, but it would be nice if they get the original Sinister Six. Okay, and the last end credit scene, if you know in the movie, you've seen the trailer, we get to see a lot of videos of Captain America in his old Avengers 1 suit talking to the kids. It's like an infomercial for educational purposes for the kids. Like he's talking to about the gym teacher and how you're going to be, and then detention, it was his video again. So in the last end credit scene, he shows up and he says, the best asset about being a superhero is patience. When you wait and then you feel like you've wasted your time and there was really nothing, and then he just goes, is there more of this? And it was a complete waste of time. That end credit with Cap was absolutely ridiculously useless. Did nothing for the film except make you laugh and make you feel stupid for waiting. But you get to see Cap, so just more things that make sure that solidifies the presence of this franchise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was funny, but at the same time it was annoying that we didn't get to see any useful end credit scene like leading up to Avengers 3 or Spider-Man 2 or Thor or whatever, or Black Panther or a new Venom film. A little bit annoying, but it was okay. So the movie, I feel, deserves at least an 8.5 out of 10 for me. It wasn't perfect, but it was a refreshing taste. It was a refreshing feel for this rebooted franchise. I thought they did an okay job, a good enough job to get people back into the Spider-Man franchise. It wasn't perfect, but it was a pretty darn good job. So at least an 8.5, maybe a 9. But because I was a little bit disappointed on a personal ranking, I want to give this one a 7.5 because I really expected so much. But if you moderate your expectation, this movie is a clean 8.5, 9 out of 10 film. Great watch. I'm watching it again this weekend with my wife, with Alex and Danny. I hope they like it. I hope they don't get bored to death in the first half. So there you go, folks. That's my lengthy, as always, commentary / pseudo review of the latest Spider-Man movie from Marvel, Disney, and Sony, Spider-Man Homecoming. Thanks for watching.